Hi all, I know many of you enjoy the King's Gambit. It is a great artifact of the Romantic era of chess, and sometimes is played in modern games by the more adventurous players. Here, Leela ID 529 is playing against Senpai, and this is another game provided by Dietrich Kapp. Very fast, 40 moves per minute time control. I'll put a pinned comment for the hardware specs. Let's have a look. So Senpai is going to be one of the top opponents in the upcoming TCEC, by the way. So one of the highest rated engine opponents in the tournaments coming up. So this is like friendly. This is like a friendly game before the tournament on much smaller hardware, much less hardware. It'll be 40 cores the next time you might see a Senpai game in the TSEC. So here, anyway, E4 from Leela. We have the outrageous King's Gambit, and it's accepted. Now this is known as the Cunningham's defense. I think there was a player called Cunningham. Not too many games I found of him, but I believe it's based on the player Cunningham. And we have bishop c4. Now usually the idea is actually not, as you might think, to check on h4. Usually knight f6 is the preferred move, and this has a lot of venom to it. For example, d3, d5, and black's getting a very comfortable position. And if e5, it's like a provocative Alekhine defense. Knight g4, and then there's the real threat of bishop h4. And then later, black can get a very comfortable game quite easily. So it's not what it might seem, that it's literally to play bishop h4. But in this game, we do see the literal interpretation of bishop h4. And this can lead to a bit of greediness on black's part. And we do follow an extremely greedy book line, which might not be optimal for black. So g3, fg, and white just castles here, giving up yet another pawn. So a crazy variation within the Cunningham's defense. Not to be recommended, I believe, just on general grounds. King h1. Already, white's got a lot going for the position. The f-file pressure, the central control, the lead in development. So black plays d5 here. Sorry, G takes, by the way, was out of book. It was the choice of the Senpai chess engine. So now d5, e takes. Bishop g3. So wanting to hold on to things and put the bishop back on d6. It does seem sensible. But check, and the king's misplaced now already. On knight e7, it's actually kind of difficult to prove white's compensation sometimes. There's no forced checkmate here, but white should be able to get an edge in this eventuality with knight g5, it seems, on my analysis. No, knight e4 hitting the bishop, check, causing some weaknesses, and it starts to look very scary for black. Check again, discover check again. Queen h3 might be the most precise move here, and apparently this position, if we follow it through, this is an exotic example continuation. A fictional example that I'm creating for you here might be like this. Knight going to a3, knight going to b5, the bishop taken off, and white using this diagonal. This is just a fictional continuation, just to give you a gist of some of the potential in white's position. So this kind of thing could be a disaster for black. It's just a fictional continuation. But there is a certain amount of pressure in this position, but it does seem as though white needs to play very precisely against the move knight e7, as well as this move, king f8. Black has all the pawns intact, all 8 pawns intact. White has sacrificed like a caveman, 3 pawns here, or cave woman. Queen g2, bishop d6. We see knight c3, knight f6. Now, a very logical looking move to me, actually, that the queen on g2 is nicely targeting g7. So this next move by Leela does seem very nice. Just b3, fianchettoing the bishop. There is an alternative. I mean, d4 is also could lead white to an advantage as well. This is an example continuation, but it's not as fun. It's not as fun. White could get an advantage technically, but it's not as fun, it seems to me, by the evidence of this game. So a6, bishop b2. So we have some conspirators against the king here, against g7. Bishop f5 is played. Now on queen d7, because bishop f5, you might think is a bit asking for a bit of trouble. So let's have a quick look at queen d7 before moving on to the game continuation. Knight e4, you could see that g7 focus here, and if queen g4 here, this position with knight f g5 threatening, rook takes f7, keeping the pressure on d6. So using this knight, this position should be quite nice for white, because there's a problem with d6 here. White should have a nice advantage. So okay, bishop f5, we see the move knight g5, so the bishop seems to go to a solid place, and it looks as though, what's the problem? Isn't this solid enough? Rook a e1, knight b d7. Now white ramps up the pressure, or tries to, with knight c e4, so unveiling the bishop. It looks like a beautiful position, just visually. It looks kind of, as we say sometimes now, visually crushing. We have rook c8, but how do we actually crack the nuts here? So Leela's next move kind of creates spectator pieces out of pieces that are in the sector, and you can do that by pinning sometimes. So they look as though they're there, but they're not. They become illusionary. So how can we make black's pieces become an illusion? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video, white to play. Okay, knight e6 check, just trying to get a real pin against the knight on f6. So blacks can't lose the queen here, black has to take there. And now this, we can see that after f takes, pardon me, after f takes, black has gone into a pin here. That knight's pinned now, immobilized. So this is an illusionary piece, it's not really holding up things very well. Black tries bishop takes e4 here. This is a very difficult position. If knight c5, the pressure on f6 is enormous here. So knight takes, for example, bishop takes, forking queen and rook is a total massacre variation. e7 check, bishop takes e7 check, double check in fact. Queen h3 hitting the rook. This is just an incisive variation, just for the fun of showing you a crush variation where black gets checkmated. So basically, yeah, this is a very difficult position already. It seems black is totally busted here. Bishop takes e4, rook takes e4. Black tries the desperate looking knight e5. On knight c5, the most incisive move is to actually put even more pressure on g7 with rook g4. And black's really not in a position to do anything about this. Rook g8 just goes into another pin on that g7 pawn. So bang, bishop takes f6. And can't really take because of g8 dropping. I mean, well, this is the continuation actually, I've noted. Checkmate. So this is very dangerous. Knight e5 is played. We simply have bishop takes e5, queen e7. On bishop takes here, there's actually, the most incisive move appears to be e7 check. And then going for this pin, because dragging this pawn into the game to hit f6 basically, for example like this, is going to be absolutely crushing. Massive advantage to white. So we have black playing queen e7. d4 is played. It's a very strong position. Now even more pressure, that unpins the knight. But now this rook can come with a vengeance to hit f6 again. It's diabolical really. If knight g7, the funniest thing to do here, well this is funny, queen takes b7 and then rook f8 check. This is all pretty amusing stuff. Absolute massacre here. So we have rook b8 and now rook takes f6. So the poor rook on h8, which hasn't done anything. 21. All game is now a target, a tactical target. G takes, bishop takes f6, forking queen and rook. On the amusing thing here, by the way, on queen f8, it's not even about taking the rook now. There's a move here which celebrates the bishop being on f6, which the evil engine is never content with the simple looking stuff, even when apparently massively winning. The super clinical stuff, unemotional move. I wonder if you can spot it here, which uses the fact that the king hasn't got too many escape squares here, either d8 or f7. There's a super funny move here. If I give you 5 seconds, this is just a variation. Okay, bishop d5 actually threatens bishop c6 check. For example, this bishop c6 check, and we get the crisscross effect with black getting checkmated. So in fact, that's the reason there. So about king d8 was played, giving up the queen. White actually took the queen here. This is clearly a miserable position for black, but Dietrich plays these games to the death. So we make sure that Leela hasn't got a bug somewhere and can't finish a one game like this. There's no major issues for white. Here, after d5, by the way, if c takes, here's an example, just checkmating example, like that. That's funny. So d5, we have rook b5. d6, yeah, it's all crashing through, obviously. Queen e4 hits the bishop and c6. C6 is actually more tempting to take here. We have check. Taking, this is just desperate. And now black gets checkmated, basically. Checkmate to the death, this game. So another fun game before the storm of TSEC Division 4, where Senpai is going to be a different bear, grizzly bear, on steroids with 40 core starting from tomorrow. But Senpai's, on paper, the top-rated engine in Division 4. So there'll be 2 neural networks. So Leela and another one as well. So that'll be interesting stuff tomorrow to check out. It might not be as fun and exciting as these games. So I hope you enjoyed this one anyway. Another King's Gambit for you. Comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Thanks so much.